Greetings and all salutations as they suit you. I'm Jacob with Cyborg Games, and today we're going to talk about honesty not always being the best policy and the ethics of truth through one of the earliest emotional gut punches in the Final Fantasy series, with Final Fantasy II. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it helpful? These four questions get attributed to a lot of people, and the exact origin is murky at best. But the source doesn't really matter, the wisdom does. Before we speak, it's worth asking whether our words will add something meaningful, or whether they're just noise we feel compelled to make. We often treat truth as the gold standard of communication. If it's true, it must be said. Full stop. But reality is messier than that. The game today is Final Fantasy II, using the original Japanese numbering. It is an old role-playing game, or RPG, where the core gameplay loop centers on traveling from place to place and engaging in random battles while selecting actions from a menu, while the story unfolds through key narrative moments along the way. What set the Final Fantasy series apart, even this early on, was its willingness to invest in character and theme, not just mechanics. Compared to many of its contemporaries, these games were less interested in what you were fighting and more interested in why. So this won't be the last time we talk about Final Fantasy, but this particular moment is a good place to start. Before we continue, I'm just going to drop a spoiler warning. It isn't pivotal, and the game is 38 years old, but if you want a blind playthrough one day, stop here. Moving along. In the early part of the game, you encounter a dying prince. Barely alive, he asks the heroes to tell the princess that he loves her. Then, after a pause, he takes it back. Not because it isn't true, not because he doesn't mean it, but because, in his words, there is no benefit to the confessions of a dying man. It won't change her choices, and it won't give her time with him. It will only deepen her grief with nowhere to go. So he takes his confession to his death. And that moment quietly asks us something uncomfortable. Is truth always the most ethical option? Because the prince doesn't suddenly decide honesty is bad. He decides that truth without kindness, timing, or purpose can become a burden rather than a gift. There's a difference between truth that connects and truth that unloads. Sometimes a confession is really about freeing the speaker, easing guilt, reducing discomfort, or proving I'm a good person because I'm honest, while the other person is left holding the emotional bill with no ability to act on it. And in this case, the prince clocks something brutal. If he says it, the only person who gets relief is him. The princess gets grief and nothing she can do with it. That's one ethical lens. Truth as relief versus truth as responsibility. Here's another. Truth as connection versus truth as rupture. Truth can build closeness when there's a relationship that can hold it, when there's time, space, and a shared willingness to meet each other there. But when there's no capacity to process it, when the person is already under strain, or when the timing turns it into emotional shrapnel, truth can function like a weapon, even if you didn't mean it that way. And then there's the simplest one, the one people forget most. Truth now is not the same as truth later. Sometimes the ethical move isn't silence forever, it's pacing. It's waiting until there's a context where the truth can actually serve the person hearing it, not just the person saying it. So the question isn't, should we tell the truth? like it's a purity test. The question is, what does this truth do in the world? Who does it help? Who does it harm? And what would it cost or protect if we delayed it? This shows up everywhere in real life. I'm just being honest. I'd want to know. They deserve the truth. Maybe. But when? And why? And the part people dodge. Who is this actually for? Because honesty can be a form of courage. It can also be a form of self-soothing. Sometimes we say, I'm just being honest, when what we mean is, I'm uncomfortable and I want out of this feeling. And that doesn't automatically make it bad. It just makes it worth noticing. In therapy, in relationships, and in conflict repair, the impact matters as much as the accuracy. Two people can say the same true sentence. One uses it as a bridge, the other uses it as a brick. And one of the simplest tells is this. Does the truth move the relationship toward contact and clarity? Or does it move it toward distance, defensiveness, and damage control? So let's look at those questions again. Is it true? This is about accuracy. Is it kind? This is about compassion. Is it necessary? This is about purpose. And is it helpful? This is about impact. And if it's accurate but it's not kind, maybe the question becomes, how do I say this without turning it into harm? If it's kind but not necessary, maybe the question becomes, am I speaking because it helps them or because I can't sit with silence? And if it's necessary but not helpful right now, then we're back at the Final Fantasy moment again. Maybe the ethical move is pacing. This isn't a moral verdict. It's a pause button. Now, there's an obvious objection here. Silence can also be harmful. Withholding truth can deny someone agency. It can trap them in a reality that isn't real. It can make you the editor of their life without their consent. And that matters. Because there are truths that are uncomfortable but necessary. Not because they feel good, but because they allow choice. If you never tell someone the real issue, they can't respond to it. If you never name a boundary, you're not being kind. You're being unclear. If you avoid a hard conversation to protect someone, you might actually be protecting yourself from discomfort. So I'm not arguing for silence as a virtue. I'm arguing for something much more annoying, something much more adult. Discernment. The ethical tension isn't truth versus lies. It's truth versus timing. It's truth versus impact. It's truth versus motive. And sometimes the most ethical version of truth is not the first version that bursts out of your mouth. Sometimes the ethical version of truth is the one that's been translated into language the other person can actually receive. And sometimes the ethical version of truth is the one that waits until there's enough safety, enough stability, enough runway for the person to land it. That may sound manipulative, but really, that's care. So if you want a practical way to use these 4 questions, here's a simple approach. Don't treat them like a purity test. Use them like a quick diagnostic. If it's true but not kind, slow down. Find a kinder phrasing, not to soften reality, but to keep the relationship intact while you say it. If it's kind but not necessary, ask yourself whether you're genuinely helping or whether you're trying to relieve your own tension. If it's necessary but not helpful right now, then you get to choose timing on purpose. Not avoidance, timing. And if it's true, kind, necessary, and helpful, say it. Say it cleanly. Which brings us back to the dying prince. He doesn't decide love is meaningless. He decides that his relief would come at the cost of her pain, and without any chance for connection, repair, or response. So he holds the truth, not because honesty is bad, but because truth is powerful, and powerful things deserve respect. That's the core idea here. Truth isn't a badge you wear, it's a tool you use. And like any tool, the question isn't just, is it real? It's, what does it do when I put it in someone else's hands? If conversations like this feel helpful, you're welcome to subscribe, say hi in the comments, and if there's a game you'd like me to explore next, let me know. Thanks for being here, rest gently, and be kind to your mind.